This one is really personal. It's how to deal with depression and anger when you've carried this depression and anger around for like 2 decades. Like you feel as though you can't walk away from it, you're so deep in it. And that maybe if you're just a little depressed and angry a bit longer, it'll all be worth something in the end, and that you just can't let go. I grew up where I felt as though my mom chose this very violent man over me, and it was very obvious that I shouldn't have been living with him. And so now that I'm older, I kind of put her through little tests to see if she'll choose me. I mean, this narrative or this plot, I acknowledge it as a plot. I'm lucid enough to see that it's a plot. It's very embedded with my relationships with older women. I tend to become really attached and attracted to older women, and I tend to be attached and attracted to older women that are not into me. They always are into a man. So I relive this plot of a woman loving a man more than me, and that I'm eventually going to change them to where they love me more than the man that they're with, or they love me so much to where they're not heterosexual anymore. They'll just become magically homosexual and like me. It's a very miserable, embedded, stupid plot that I've been living for the majority of my life. And if I can figure out a way to escape from this pit, then you can escape from your main plot as well. It's just baby steps, basically. I'm not saying that I'm fully escaped. I'm just basically opening the door and letting a little bit of light in by making this video. In order to escape the plot that has been deeply embedded in your life, that drives you a lot, you have to cut the bullshit. You have to think, what do I really want? Like, what would make life perfect? What would really make me not depressed anymore, or stop this circular, weird narrative from repeating itself over and over again? And so this is, if I come down to it, what I really want. I really want is for my mother to choose me and show me that all of those years that I spent with her and my stepdad were not in vain. But because I want that, I'm adding even more years to my life by putting her through these little tests and having expectations of her so that I can have my years accounted for. But really, what I must do to get over this, because that's me putting band-aids over the problem, if I just put a couple more band-aids over these situations that keep happening over and over again, it'll all be worth it in the end. She'll see the light. She'll know that she should have chose me over him. But really what I must do is accept my mistake and let go of those years. I must admit that for 20 years, I was mistaken. I was under an illusion that it was best for me to stay with my mom, and that one day she would choose me over a man. One day she would see the light. But I was wrong. And I must not be so hard on myself about it. 20 years seems like a long time. But I was so young for so many of those years. How could I have had the maturity to protect myself from them if my own mother didn't have the maturity to protect me from them? I had the option basically the whole time to go live with my grandparents. And I think if I would have pushed hard enough, I would have been allowed to go. But I always felt like I should stay home because he's going to do something to her, and I would feel really bad if I didn't call the police. Or I should stay home because, if I go live with my grandparents, then my mom will definitely choose him over me, and she'll never love me, or she'll have some other family, and it'll hurt me so bad if they carry on with their life without me, and it would just hurt even more. I just would always talk myself into staying with them and thinking this is not so bad and that I'm super resilient. But now that I'm older, I realize I'm really not as resilient as I thought I did, and that I just put a bunch of band-aids all over everything. And that in my adult life, I'm having anxiety and depression and such that I really would like to break through from. But I need to take responsibility for my actions. Yes, they did do those things, and that is unfortunate. And yes, they never did teach me the coping methods to be able to get through those things and to become a healthy adult. But I have to accept now that I don't want them in my life now that I'm an adult. I have to take responsibility. I have to heal all those past wounds. I have to learn to love myself. When I cut my mom off the first time, it was to teach her a lesson. I didn't talk to her for about 7 months recently. And then we started to talk again, and then she did something that upset me very badly. And so I cut her off all over again. But when I cut her off the first time, it was to teach her a lesson, and I still had tests for her. If she really loved me, she would do this. If she really loved me, she would do that. Or other people's moms are doing this, she should do this. I had expectations, and that's where big depression comes from, is from expectations. Now, though, that I leave her again, it is not to teach her a lesson. It is in acceptance of my glorious defeat. I was wrong about her. Staying with her was my fault due to my inability to let go of her. I will not have her invade my new life, and if she does, it will be in acceptance of she simply is a woman who chooses men over her child. She is that woman. She feels like she is no one without a man, and she is not a mother because of it. And instead of feeling angry and disappointed at how I viewed her differently for so many years and gave her so many chances, I will only try to find sympathy and distance myself from the illusion that she is. Hopefully, just like with a reoccurring nightmare, because she is part of my main plot and it affects how I have relationships with women. I keep making the plot happen over and over again with women who aren't even her. Hopefully, myself and you, once you acknowledge your reoccurring plot that's deeply rooted within you, when you become lucid towards this and actively decide to change the dream, hopefully you can fully escape from this reoccurring plot.